Okay. All right. Hi, Dana.
Hey, Alyssa, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. Good to
So,
see you.
you too. And I'm really excited for this today because what we're talking about is really your bread and butter, right? Traditional Chinese medicine and
Yes.
and pain and inflammation, which is our topic for this month, which is really what we're talking about. So on
Yep.
Tuesday, Christine and I had talked a little bit about inflammation, what it is, some of the signs and symptoms, chronic inflammation. Not, I mean, obviously we know
Right.
acute is a good response, but chronic invisible inflammation, as she called it, and
Right.
very lightly touched on some of the treatments because obviously that's going to be mostly what we're talking about throughout the month. So tell me from your perspective, Eastern medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, can you tell me a little bit about how, like, what that approach is with pain and inflammation?
Yeah, and so I think it's a good point to, there is quite a distinction between chronic inflammation and acute inflammation. We need inflammation in our body to signal to us that okay, there's something happening here and protects us. So,
Right.
you fall, you sprain your ankle or your wrist, there's inflammation, we can see it. But, like you said, there's sometimes there's inflammation in our body that we don't even really necessarily know that it's there, but it affects us. It affects us in different ways. And so, from a TCM point of view, traditional Chinese medicine point of view, when we think of inflammation, pretty much the number one thing that we go to is okay, stagnation, right? Stagnation of what? Stagnation of energy or chi, stagnation of blood, and then there's stagnation of body fluids. And people say, well, what's body fluids? Well, we have fluid. We're made up of a lot of fluid. I mean, that's most of our body is made up of fluids and blood and energy. So when we have kind of a chronic situation of stagnation of blood and energy, if one is stagnant, the other one will ultimately be stagnant as well. So they kind of go hand in hand. One follows the other. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
There you are. So when we have that chronic inflammation, we'll start getting things like, oh, I have my back hurts or my neck hurts, or I don't know, I just feel stiff, I feel tight. And then there's other signs and symptoms that come along with that too. And then what we do in Chinese medicine, initially is that's kind of where we think and that's where we go. And then the focus is, okay, Chinese herbs, diet, what are you eating? What are you not eating? Are you moving? Are you sedentary? Do you sit at a desk all day? That's kind of contributing to it. So what can we do in a sense of TCM, diet, nutrition, to kind of move blood, move stagnation, decrease that stagnation will ultimately decrease the inflammation, and people will start feeling better and moving the lymph fluid. And there's many different points in acupuncture, on the acupuncture channels, to actually move lymph fluid, which is huge, and decreasing that energy. And then what we look at also is, there's yin and yang. Everyone's heard of yin and yang. What's yin? Yin is blood. Yin is our thermostat. It's what keeps us cool and brings down our heat, our internal heat. Yang is more of our chi, of our energy. And that's more what keeps us heated. So the yin and yang have to really be balanced in order to have that homeostasis for the body to always want to be in homeostasis. We need that yin and yang balance, and that creates homeostasis, and that creates less stagnation and less inflammation. So that's really kind of where we start. And then of course there's always exceptions, and there's always other things that we look into in terms of lifestyle. Is somebody active as opposed to is somebody not active? Does somebody have an underlying condition? Medications too. A lot of prescription medications actually can cause inflammation in the body, and we don't know it. So lifestyle, diet, exercise plays a role too, but it's kind of where we start in the beginning with TCM.
So it sounds like what you do is really kind of look at the whole person, right? Look at everything going on from their lifestyle, what they're taking in terms of medication, if there is other things kind of going on in their life that may be coming from. And then, so that's sort of the kind of detective work, right? That you do a little bit in the beginning, and then when it comes to treatment, it sounds like there are a couple different things that you do, obviously, like herbs, nutrition. It's funny, we don't
Yeah.
always think about that as a way of treatment, right? But it really, really is.
Oh, it is, because you know, the acupuncture works on the energy, so we're working on the energetic system, and then when we incorporate herbs, it's more of a biochemical level that it's working on. So here we've got now a biochemical level, internal medicine that we're working on to support the acupuncture, which is more chi or energy based medicine. So we bring those two together, and it's like a, you know, it's like the perfect combination. And then we add in food, and we add in, you know, and emotions play a big part in that too. You know, I mean, someone who's in pain or someone who's uncomfortable, it's really hard to feel like happy, and you know, so that plays a big part too. Like people who are suffering, even if it's on a minor level and it's all subjective, it's hard to feel good when you don't feel good, right?
It so is. It
You know,
so
so
is.
like
It's kind of like what
mentally,
came
it's
first,
hard.
the chicken or the egg, right?
Yeah, it's like which one comes first?
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you can't really feel like, you know, positive and happy and, you know, motivated and all that when you just don't feel good. So, you know, it's really the, like you said, it's the working with the whole person, looking at everything, you know, mental, emotional, spiritual, if you will, and diet and nutrition. But in TCM, really what we're looking at with any kind of information is always preceded by stagnation first. It's like if you put brownies in the oven and you forget about them and they just sit there, you know, they're chewy and they're, you know, they're great. And then all of a sudden they're like burnt and they're like, and that's stagnation. You're overcooked, you're overheated, nothing's moving. It's stopped. It's stopped. What stopped? Blood, energy has to be running freely and flow freely through the channels and the meridians to nourish the bones and nourish the soft tissue and nourish the organs. And so that really is homeostasis in terms of Chinese medicine.
I love that. And I love that for a bunch of reasons. There are two things that you said in there. One of them, the fact that stagnation, you know, leads to that pain, right? Leads to that disease, dis-ease, right? Whatever that is, not necessarily
exactly,
you know, issue, but it's a problem that it causes. And just to kind of bring it to what's happening in our world right now, how you know, there's so many emotions going on, so many things happening, and some people are taking action, doing things about it in their own way, whether that's prayer, whether that's peaceful protesting, whether that's any other actions. But I think there are a lot of people right now too that are also a deer in headlights, not knowing what to do. There's so much, you know, happening. And I just want to very quickly, we're not going to dwell on that by any means, but I just want to bring that to everybody's attention because it's that same type of stagnation that can lodge itself into your system and then become something like chronic pain and inflammation.
Absolutely. And that plays a big role too. I mean, that just gets back to what we talk about it, you know, how do you perceive something? And then what happens is it doesn't matter if it's good, bad, or indifferent. How you perceive something is how you feel about something. And those feelings ultimately always get stored in the body.
Right.
Whether it's happiness, whether it's sadness, whether it's anger, you know, the liver stores anger in Chinese medicine. The lungs store sadness, you know, in Chinese medicine. So, you know, it's very interesting to me right now to think, okay, we have this virus out there, not to digress, but we have this virus out there that attacks the lungs. Okay. And we know this and it's scary. And what is that doing? That scareness, that feeling of I'm scared, I'm worried, I'm sad. Those emotions get stored in your lungs. So our lungs now are becoming susceptible, even more susceptible,
just based on the fear of the lungs getting hurt themselves.
And then that
the irony, right? Yeah.
And it's like a snowball. So it's like, okay, you know what, everybody, like, okay, it is scary. It is something to be concerned about. What can we do? Again, getting back to what you just said, what can we do? We can build our immune system. How do we do that? Eating well, you know, staying away from things that we know are going to suppress our immune system, eating well, exercising, mindfulness, you know, taking that deep breath and, you know, not holding everything right here and kind of, you know, people hyperventilate. I mean, I do it myself. I find myself going, oh my God, I don't think I took a deep breath in like 8 minutes.
It's true. It's
So
really,
it's,
really true
you
that
know,
mindfulness is huge. And just to recap too, last week we on Friday we did tapping. We did
yes,
tapping for anxiety. So go back and watch that if you're experiencing pain right
absolutely. And I
now,
can't
right?
tell you how many times I've tapped it between then and now. I walk around and I go like this, and my kids are like, oh gosh, she's doing it again. And then the other day I saw my daughter, actually, she was tapping, and I'm like, you're doing it too. And she
Yay,
said,
that's amazing.
I know. And she's like, it just feels good. And I said, yeah, it does.
It
It's
does.
moving and kind of redirecting energy. So it's
It
cool.
does. Well, I shared that with a lot of my friends that I know have anxiety right now, and I couldn't
Awesome.
remember the whole shebang, but I remembered parts of them, and I definitely found myself doing it a
We'll
couple
go over
times.
it again. I'd like to actually go over it again at some point if we can. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
Okay,
Definitely.
good.
Definitely.
Good.
Great. Well, this was
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much for sharing just what
Yes.
treatment perspective looks like from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective. And then if everybody listening isn't already aware, it's not posted yet, but it will be hopefully by the end of today. We're actually going to be doing a full workshop on lower back pain specifically. And
Yes.
Christine and Dana and I are all going to be kind of talking about a little different piece of how you can treat that lower back pain from each of our
Yes.
background. So we're going to talk about it from a mind, body, spirit perspective. So
Yes,
look for
that'll be
that.
good.
Yeah, and keep tuning in every Tuesday and Thursday at noon, and Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. as well on the Integrative Wellness Facebook page. And let us know your questions. I wasn't on there. I tried checking on here, but I was too distracted. I can't do two things at once. So if there are questions, though, we'll go back in and answer them. But either way, thank you so much, everybody, for listening, for being here, for doing something for yourself, even if it's just
Yes.
empowering yourself for some new education, for some new tools. Oh, I just remembered, and this is a great thing to go off on. The other thing that you said, Dana, that I thought was really powerful was the fact that it's not just the needles, it's not just moving that, but it's also the nutrition, it's also the internal
Yes,
medicine.
for sure.
When it comes to treating,
Absolutely.
when it comes to treating this, you are going to need a lot of different things.
And that's
And
the thing.
that's what
So,
our goal is this month. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, TCM is traditional Chinese medicine, and under that umbrella, there's all, these different things that come together. So it's not just the needles, exactly. So it's like, okay, there's this, and this. There's different modalities that we use that incorporate Oriental medicine and Chinese medicine. So it's not just one thing, but there's many different tools that we have. They're all fantastic, and they're all available to people. So it's really nice to know, and it's good medicine, and it's I've seen it change lives, and just to know that it's out there, and okay, there's another avenue. What can I do here for myself? Even just to feel good, feel better, even mentally right now. It's such a tough time right now for everybody with everything that's going on. So I hope everyone is safe and healthy, and we're just kind of all together in this and powering through it. And what can we do? I love what you said. And what can we do? Because that gives us empowerment. I was telling my kids, what can you do? Even if it's something small, it's going to give you that empowerment where, you know what, I'm not just going to sit back, but this is what I believe. And I'm going to do this, and I'm going to feel good about that. So I think it's that's important too.
It is important. It is important. And I feel like we could still go on and on. So I'll try not to, but I will one more just because I love it. But and just what you said, what can you do? Right. Because everybody needs to know is that your energy, you are a really powerful person. I don't care who you are or how powerless you feel at any given moment. You have so much power over your own life, over your own health, over your environment around you. So even if you don't know what to do, just put some good thoughts out there, right? Just literally send good thoughts out there, and that's something. That's really something.
Where it starts too. It starts right there. Just
within.
A positive thought. Keep that vibe going. So
absolutely.
Thank you, Alyssa.
I hope you keep that vibe going, Dana, and we'll chat next week.
I'm gonna try my best to keep it going.
Tap, tap, tap.
Tap, tap. Thanks, Alyssa.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.